HTML. HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. Hypertext Markup Language. And HTML is used for structuring and presenting content on the World Wide Web. Content on the World Wide Web, that is www. So HTML is a markup language. HTML is a markup language for describing web documents, and the markup language is a set of markup tags. Language is a set of markup tags, and HTML documents are described by HTML tags. Okay, each HTML tag describes different document content. HTML versions. So compulsory we need to know about the versions of HTML. Versions. The first version of HTML is HTML 1.0. Okay, released in 1991. Okay, released in 1991, and this is the first version of HTML. First version of HTML, and supports inline images and text controls. That supports inline images and text controls. Inline images and text controls means so we can display images in web documents and text boxes. So for image syntax, image tag and source attribute. In the source attribute, we need to provide image path, here, and alt attribute. So this is the image name here. Okay, just a syntax. This is the syntax for image tag, and height of the image, so just sample 200 pixels, and the width of the image also 200 pixels. Okay, and finally close this tag. So this is the syntax for display image in web documents, that is browser. And inline text boxes. Okay, inline image and text boxes, text controls. Input tag we need to use to display text box in browser, and the type is text, and close this text box. Okay, this is the tag to display text box in browser. So the first version of HTML supports inline image and text controls. Okay, this is the first version of HTML, and this first version not support to use tables or frames. Support to use tables or frames. And second one, so we cannot specify fonts. Can't specify font. Third one, we can't change page background. Change page background. Okay, so these are the three types. So HTML 1.0 version not support. Okay, these versions are supports from next version of HTML. Then second version is HTML 2.0 and released in 1995. Okay, and this is supports more browsers. This version supports more browsers, okay, all latest browsers. And it's also support forms with a limited set of form elements. So first one, forms with limited set of form elements such as text boxes and buttons and option buttons. And second one, we can change page background. Okay, page background. And the third one, we can use tables in HTML. Okay, so there is a table tag in HTML. So from second version of HTML, we can use tables and page background. Okay, and all of the controls available from 2.0 version. And next, HTML 3.2 version. Third version, HTML 3.2 version, released in 1997. Okay, so this version supports for creating tables and external options for form elements. And this version also supports web pages to include complex mathematical equations. This version supports supposed to include complex mathematical equations, complex mathematical equations and supports for creating tables and external options. Okay, and fourth version of HTML 4.0.1. Okay, so this is released in 1999. Okay, released in 1999, and this version supports style sheets. So this is the main change and the main feature of HTML 4.0. Okay, so from this version uh, okay, so from this version we can change the look and feel of the website. Okay, using this version you can change the look and feel of the website. So look and feel of the website. So here in the from this version we can use .css files. Okay, .css files nothing but style sheets. Okay, once you change any change in .css file, okay, it will reflect to the entire entire application. Okay, so for example you want to change page background, okay, background color or background image for the entire application. Background image or color for entire entire application. So you can change in .css file, so it will reflect to the entire application. Okay, so this is the main feature of HTML 4.0.1 version. Okay, and the current version of HTML is HTML5. Okay, and finally the current version of HTML is HTML 5.50, nothing but HTML5. So this is released in 2008. Okay, released in 2008, and here number of features available. Okay, so first one, new doc type, and the second one, figure element, and third one, no more types for scripts and links, scripts and links, and the fourth one, local storage, and fifth one, email inputs. Sixth feature is header element, and the seventh one is footer element. Eighth one, fig cap, element. Ninth one, content editable, and tenth one, canvas. Okay, so these are the most important features in HTML5 version. Okay, so the first feature of HTML5, new doc type. New doc type. So always add doc type declaration to your HTML documents. Okay, before you create the HTML document, The first tag is use doctype declaration for the HTML forms. Always use doctype HTML declaration to your HTML documents. Okay, so that the so that the browser knows what type of documents, knows what type of documents to expect. Okay, what type of documents to expect. And in older versions of HTML, older versions of HTML, older versions of HTML means HTML 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so in these four versions, always use DTD declaration, okay, to specify the markup language. In older versions of HTML, use DTD declaration to your HTML markup language. Declaration declaration. So DTD means doc type declaration. DTD doc type declaration. Doc type declaration specifies the rules for the markup language. Specifies for the rules for the markup language. For the markup language. Rules for the markup language, so that the browser renders the content correctly. That the browser render the content correctly. Okay, render the content correctly. So HTML5 is not based on HTML5 is not based on HTML. So HTML means standard generalized markup language. Standard 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 generalized markup language. So and therefore does not require a reference to a DTD. Therefore therefore doesn't require a reference to a DTD. So a DTD. So in older versions of HTML, so compulsory we need to declare like this. Okay, HTML doc type declaration tag. Okay, in older versions of HTML, doc type HTML public double quotes hyphen slash w3c and slash DTD and XHTML space 1.0 version and transitional slash slash en. Okay, and next double quotes http colon www dot w3c w3.org slash tr slash xhtml1 slash dtd and slash xhtml1 transitional dot dtd. Okay, finally close this tag. So this is the format to create the initialize the first doc type declaration tag in older versions. Okay, but in HTML5 simply you can create like this doc type HTML. Okay, so this is the simple and the browser render the content correctly. Okay, and the browser knows what type of documents we are expecting. Okay, in HTML5. So but in HTML older versions we need to declare the starting tag like this. Okay, so that the browser render the content correctly, and this DTD specifies the rules for the markup language. Okay, without rules we can't specify anything. So this is the first version of HTML, and the next version is a figure element, and this figure element is used to display images. Okay, with image name or image description. So figure element syntax: figure tag, ending tag. Okay, for each and every tag, Marshall should starting tag and ending tag in HTML. Okay, so figure is the starting tag, and image tag, source attribute, image path. Okay, and alt attribute, image name. Next height 100 pixels, and width also 100 pixels. Okay, and next one is fig caption. So fig caption tag. So this tag, fig caption tag, contains image description. We can include image description. Okay, so we can include this tag in the top of the image also. Okay, otherwise in the bottom of the image. So I will explain these examples in programmatically in tomorrow's class. Okay, just syntax. And next, no more types for skips and links. So in older versions of HTML, older versions of HTML, older versions of HTML, to call .css files are .js files. Okay, .js files. Older versions of HTML to call .css files or .js files. Okay. Uh, Include type attribute. Okay, type attribute. So we need to include type attribute. But in HTML5 version, HTML5, no need to specify type attribute. Type attribute for .css files, okay, or .js files. Okay. So but in HTML older versions, you want to call .cs file, use link tag and href attribute, and in href attribute .css file path and relation attribute, the style sheet and the type attribute equal to text css okay. And to call javascript files .js files, use script tag and source attribute .js file path here. Okay, and next type equal to text javascript okay, and close this tag. Okay, so this is the syntax to call the .cs files and .js files in older versions. Okay, but in HTML5, no need to specify type attribute. Okay, when you are including okay, I will share this node document. Okay, after complete the HTML. Okay, no need to specify a type attribute when you are calling .js files or .css files. Okay, this is the new feature in HTML5 and local storage. So I will explain this feature in AngularJS. Okay, so there is a topic in AngularJS also. Okay, using local storage, and in AngularJS, this is very important concept also. Okay, we can save the content in the browser. Okay, so you can save the content in the browser even after the browser is closed, okay, or is refreshed. So the local storage sets fields on the domain. Okay, so even when you close the browser, reopen it and go back to the site, so it remembers all fields in local storage. So I will explain this feature in AngularJS with example. Next, email inputs. So email inputs nothing but we can apply type of email to the text boxes. We can apply type of email, email of form inputs. Form inputs nothing but text boxes. Okay, text boxes. So we can instruct the browser to only allow strings that conform to the valid email address structure. Okay, so we can instruct the browser, instruct the browser, instruct the browser to allow strings only allow strings that conform to a valid email address. Email valid email address. Okay, syntax input type equal to email. Okay, text box. So this is the text box, but this text box accept only email formats only. So compulsory include at the rate when you enter the text in this text box. Uh, Placeholder is the identification for the text box. The email only. Next, header tag and the footer tag. Okay, so when you're designing the HTML form, so we can use header tag and a footer tag. Header tag like this, and for the footer tag directly we can use for the footer. Okay, next quick cap. Quick cap nothing but sorry, figure element. Okay, this is quick cap element. Okay, there is no individual feature for this. Okay, and the content editable. Next one is, so this feature is another feature is uh, quote or not to quote, or not to quote. And quote or not quote means when you're writing the tags in the HTML document. Okay, so we are using single quotes or double quotes to specify the attribute values. Okay, you don't have to wrap your attributes in quotation marks. Okay, if you don't want to you don't want to don't have to wrap your attributes in quotation marks if you don't want to we want to use. Okay, so for example, syntax. So normally we to create the button in the HTML form, use input type equal to button, okay, and value equal to button name, okay, button text, okay, button text, and close this tag. So this is the normal syntax to create the button in HTML tags. But in HTML5, no need to include the double quotes to for the values for the type attribute. So just use HTML attributes and values directly, and now we can remove double quotes or single quotes to specify the values for the attributes. So directly we can write like this. Okay, this is also another feature. And the next feature is content editable. So using this feature, you can edit the content in the browser, okay, in the runtime. Using this feature, you can edit the content in the browser in the runtime. Browser or runtime. Okay, so just use content editable attribute, content editable equal to true. Okay, content editable true to provide editable option in runtime. Okay, okay, use content editable equal to true and syntax. So for example, here I have one paragraph or div element, okay, div tag, and this div tag contains some sample information to display. This is my sample text. Okay, so when you run the form, okay, HTML form, so I want to edit this content in the browser. So we can provide content editable equal to true, so that we can edit the content in the browser also. Okay, so I will show the examples tomorrow's class. Next one is canvas. Using this feature feature allows us to create Okay, allows us to create graphics graphics on web web page. Okay, this feature allows us to create graphics on web page. Okay, the graphic uh, use canvas tag to build graphics in browser in web page. Okay, it shows four elements: rectangle and a gradient rectangle and a multicolor rectangle and a multicolor text. Use canvas tag syntax. So this is the tag to build the graphics in web page. Okay, so this is the features of HTML5. Okay, and this is versions of HTML and features of HTML5. And to create the HTML form, okay, to start the HTML form, to start the creating HTML form, we need editor. Okay, any type of HTML editor to create HTML document. We need any HTML editor. Okay, editor. So the editors are number of editors available. Adobe Dreamweaver, and the second one is uh, Sublime Text, and third one is Sublime Text, and Coffee Cup HTML editor, Coffee Cup HTML editor, and the fourth one Microsoft Expression Web, Microsoft Expression Web, and finally Notepad also we can use. Okay, simply we can use Notepad. So any type of editor we can use. Number of editors available. So here Visual Studio, Microsoft Visual Studio also we can use. The first example starting with Notepad. Okay, open our Notepad and write our HTML tags in that. Doc type HTML and HTML tag, starting tag and ending tag. Okay, next header section of HTML tag, HTML form. Next body section. Okay, body means what you can see in the browser, so that is called body section. So if you run this is the website. Okay, this is HTML form. So what you can see here in the browser, that is body tag. Okay, these elements are in body tag. Okay, in body tag. And the header section we can call .css or .js files. Okay, and in the body section we can use any type of HTML tag like paragraph. Okay, and a div tag, div tag, and button, text boxes, any type of element we can use. So if you are using Notepad, save that Notepad with the .html extension. Okay, so save your selectable location. Okay, and save that file sample.html. Save that Notepad with the .html extension. Okay, the HTML form is created. So this paragraph contains some text to display. This is my sample paragraph. Okay, and this is sample div tag. Okay, save this Notepad. If you made any changes in this Notepad, compulsory save that. So go to that folder. Okay, in HTML folder we have created sample.html form. So run this example. Okay, double click on this or select your browser to run. So this is in header section. Okay, so there is no comments using, so that this text are displaying. Actually HTML files and .cs files will not export and not to display here. So just put this in comment. Okay, so this is the HTML comments. If you don't want to display any tag, you can put the tag with this comment. Okay, now the body section two elements, paragraph and div tag is displaying. Okay, the header section part is not displaying. So click on right click here and go to inspect. Okay, you can see your total HTML form here. Okay, doc type HTML tag and header HTML tag and header section and the body section. Okay, so only this body section can display in the browser. Okay, this is the HTML doc type HTML tag in HTML5, and this is the main tag of HTML form. Okay, HTML tag starting tag and ending tag. For each and every tag should must and should starting tag and ending tag. Okay, don't create starting tag only. Okay, each and every tag must contain end tag also. So body tag, starting tag and ending tag, and header section starting tag, ending tag, and HTML tag, starting tag, ending tag. In this HTML tag, we have two parts, header section and body section. So this is the sample HTML form.